So overall, Igus since about 4 years has worked very actively on bringing all our core production elements into 3 regional markets, Europe, Asia, and Americas. So already 4 years ago, we started localizing manufacturing. One way or the other, the trends of de-globalization or the trends of being more national focused was coming, and we already knew that. We've invested heavily to be independent, but let's say the severity that we see in the last couple weeks surprised us as well, right? So it's almost impossible to make decisions because every 24 hours there is different information out there. So you react and then you slow down and then you act again. We've done a very, very big initiative of localizing, especially our molding operations in North America in the last 3 years. So we can, most of our components manufacture in the US. We have worked heavily on localizing the raw material supplies of that to be ready somewhat for Europe not being available, if that is through tariffs or through difficult war situations that are currently going on in Europe as well. And the generational changes that we experience, engineering workforce in Europe leaving the workforce has been a trend since probably 5-6 years. The knowledge is disappearing in Europe and we need to rebuild it here. So with a little bit of foresight we started that, but we were not quite prepared for the Canada-Mexico immediate conflict that we saw this week. Yeah, so in the Canadian, so we have an office in Toronto and 30 people in the field in Canada since many, many years. Same on the Mexican side. We also have a big team in Mexico and in Brazil with production, with warehouses. Last year we ramped up storage in those locations. But great example this week, just this morning we had multiple customers come by that are feeling pressure to now within 30 days to spin up certain production operations in Canada to be not at risk of potential tariff conflict. So we're supporting this with immediate meetings. We're setting up calls and meetings here off the shop floor, on the show floor. Our team in Canada is standing by. We're feeding them information. We have somewhat of the luxurious position that if supply from the US into Canada is difficult, we can pull from Europe into Canada. So we have a variety of footprint options, but you have to be very, very quick. The number one question I got this morning is, do you have these robots in inventory? Which is usually not a question I get because people have more time. Now time all of a sudden is something that they don't have, right? So we will see how quickly we can really pull some of these off. But that's, I would say, the difficult trend we see this morning at the show. People being really worried to localize their supply chain either from Canada in the US or the US into Canada, which surprised us all. So at the MD&M show, especially with the MedTech side, we're showing off here 3D printing capability, rapid prototyping capabilities. The materials that we have, FDA compliant, can also be 3D printed, machined, and lend themselves really well for prototyping. We've had a lot of interest also in powder coating material. We have an FDA compliant powder coating material, so you can powder coat troughs and FDA compliance material for wear resistance. So that's a big focus on that side. We have our clean room cable solutions that we always show. On top of it, we have a lot of pick and place operations that we started on the medical side, where our low-cost automation really is a good player. Yeah, so we have, I would say, two areas there. We have our bushing side, which is really for pivoting and slow motion. And then we also have plastic ball bearings that are out of the self-lubricating clean material. We have brought our Xyros product line, which is really often in medical devices, washdown capable, FDA compliant. On the bushing side, we operate with roughly 72 different raw materials that, given the let's say environmental circumstances, we can pick and choose temperature, chemical resistance, load, and so forth. So we have a lot of variety when it comes to bearing and pivot points and so forth.